So good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the June 8th, 2021 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. This time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Hutchins for the invocation, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, and please join us in prayer or reflection as we begin this new session. I take the prayer this morning from my missile that I carried throughout my career in the military. O God, whose providence never fails in its plans, we humbly plead for ourselves that thou remove whatever may be harmful and grant whatever may be useful through our Lord. Thank you and amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I need a motion to approve the agenda unless there are additions or corrections.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we approve the agenda as submitted. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I don't have any public service announcements, but we do have one. Administrator Willis.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Willis, County Administrator, and before we give Doc Polsky the floor, we do have some ladies that are here to present something to Commissioner Hutchins. So if you would come forward, please. Please state who you are.
Good morning. I'm Dee Wonder, and these are the ladies from Quilts of Valor, Faith and Freedom of Calvert County, Maryland. Commissioners, we thank you very much for allowing us to do this presentation, and I also would like to thank Rachel for her help. Could we have Mr. Hutchins come down, please?
He'll be fine with it because he's always chilly. No, he'll never be cold again now.
Good morning. On behalf of Quilts of Valor, Faith and Freedom of Calvert County, Maryland, today we are here to honor you, Thomas Timothy Hutchins. Quilts of Valor Foundation was started in 2003 and has presented over 257,000 quilts. Quilts of Valor quilts are dedicated to comfort all veterans and service members from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Latin America, Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Upon returning, many veterans were not welcomed, and instead of being praised for their valor, they were met with criticism. We do not know where you served or what you did or what you were told to do, but today we say thank you for serving our great country and welcome home. These quilts serve as tangible reminders of the appreciation and the gratitude to all service members. A quilt of valor is not an ordinary blanket. It is a quilt consisting of 3 layers secured together by many stitches. The top is made of many colors, shapes, and fabrics, representing the communities and the many individuals that we are. The batting, the filler, is the center of the quilt, provides warmth. It represents our hope that this quilt will bring warmth and comfort, peace and healing to the individual who receives it. The backing is the strength of the recipient, the support of their family and their community, and a gratitude of a nation that lives free. Finally, the binding finishes off the quilt, surrounding it on all 4 sides, representing our sincere hope that the recipient will feel surrounded by love and honor. Today, it gives us great pleasure to award this Quilt of Valor to you and say thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
And Joyce is part of the Quilt of Valor also.
He's also a troublemaker.
Tim, we have a certificate. Oh, okay. Yep.
No, not that.
Could we get a picture?
And
Steve feels left out.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hutchins, they'd like you to
Yeah.
Well, we're not quite finished.
Yes.
You know, Commissioner Weems normally does that, but it's an Elvis cape.
We have a presentation case which we carry our quilts in. We hope that you use your quilt, and you can use this as a pillowcase. But the embroidered white stars on this quilt or presentation case were made in the United States of America. During the automated manufacturing process, some of the stars ended up slightly imperfect. You might never find the imperfect star. These stars have never been sewn into United States flag, but are now being honored nonetheless. So, I don't know. I don't see an imperfect. I don't see an imperfect one either. Congratulations.
Are you guys gonna snuggle in from,
I think so.
snuggle in or snuggle up?
Fold this so that we can see the pretty side.
So they requested snuggling.
Oh, is that right? Good. Okay. You all want to come up?
Let's fold it like this. Okay. Your quilt will be registered in your name on the foundation's website. Do we have your permission to post your picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Here, go around.
Sorry, Mr. President, this is. We're feeling our way through this thing, yeah.
We can go up.
Please, lady.
Hold that either one.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Take my pen inside.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, this is totally volunteer. We volunteer all the time, for everything, whatever. And I've worked with these ladies for several years, and it's a true commitment. So we thank you.
Thank you.
You could have used that blanket for years.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy, you froze it.
I could use it up here on the forum sometime.
So we really do want to thank the ladies for all their hard work and dedication to this. On the Memorial Day service, they gave a quilt to Mr. Malcolm Graham.
Yeah, World War II.
Yeah, World War II. So,
Two more World War II presentations to do, hopefully this week.
yes. Well, thank you for what you do. It's a great tribute.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, Dr. Polsky,
Well,
you can't beat that. I'm sorry.
And
You've
I am
been
not going to try.
upstaged.
That's a wonderful presentation to follow.
Yes.
Just wait for the slides to pop up. There we go. Okay, so Commissioner Hutchins, congratulations. And
Thank you very much.
it's extremely well deserved.
Thank all of you.
So, good news pretty much all around, maybe with one toward the end this week. So our case counts, and we were not here last week, so the case count dropped the previous week and then dropped a little bit further this week. So 22 cases in the county, positivity rate of 2.3%, which is much lower than we've seen really ever. And if you take a look, again, in people 65 and over, we only had one case this previous week. A little bit hedged there is that the number of people tested is a little bit less than half of what we were seeing a month or so ago. And that's probably for multiple reasons. One of which may be there's just less sick people to test, not just because less COVID, but less viruses in general as we move toward the summer. Some of it may be that for some people, they just feel like it's not as much of a threat anymore, and even if they're sick, they may not be going in to get tested. So it's a little bit difficult, as always, to say how many true cases we have in the county, but clearly overall we are very, very pleased. Statewide, still seeing at this point about 5 deaths per day, so 35 deaths over the past week statewide. And you take a look at hospitalizations, about 275 people hospitalized, 67 in ICUs, one of whom is in our ICU in our county. But again, those numbers are significantly lower than we were seeing several weeks ago and certainly a month or two ago. I'm not going to go through the chart, but just Calvert continues to rank 11th in terms of the number of people 18 and over having at least one vaccine. And we continue to rank 2nd in the state in terms of the percentage of people 65 and over having been vaccinated, although we've really seen a stall in adults of all ages over the past couple weeks. We had a total of about 100 people countywide, 18 and over, get vaccinated for the first time this past week, that's a bit of a hedge, a bit of discouraging, and we'll get into the flip side of the numbers in just a moment. I will go back just for a second to note that when I gave our Board of Health presentation a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that year after year after year, Montgomery County and Howard County rank 1, 2 in terms of overall population health. So it should be no surprise to anyone that the 2 leaders in terms of the percentage of population being vaccinated are Howard County and Montgomery County. Howard County, 81% of everyone 18 and over has had at least 1 vaccine dose. And in Montgomery County, 77% of adults. In Calvert, that's 63%. So a significant difference in the counties. In terms of teens, since they are the newest kids on the block to be eligible, you can see that the biggest increase over the last week and a half have been in the 12 to 15-year-olds, and that shouldn't be a surprise since it was not until May where they became eligible. So if you break that into percentages, currently 32% of all 12 to 15-year-olds have had at least 1 dose. Very few have had a chance to get a second dose at this point, and 46% of 16 to 17-year-olds in the county have been vaccinated. So if you flip everything around, instead of how many have been vaccinated and take a look at how many haven't, or at least what percentage, you can see that we're doing great in 65 and older, although we would love to see that 10.3%, or those almost 1,500 seniors who haven't been vaccinated, begin their vaccination series. And when you look at adults overall, 37% of adults have yet to have a single dose. And when you take a look at all residents, since those under 12 are not eligible, and we have lower rates at this point among teens, essentially half of the county have yet to get a single dose of vaccine. And the concern there is that either what they're starting to see in England over the last week or two, where the new variant in India has now come across into there, so even though they have a significant percentage of their population vaccinated, they're seeing a surge in cases. And if we end up seeing variants, or as we move into fall, into winter, there is a very large percentage of our population that is still vulnerable. So if this doesn't improve, we will see outbreaks again come fall and winter. It's just a question of how severe and how many people. So I will remind everyone, there are plenty of places to get vaccinated. The mass vaccination sites are closing. And it sort of seems to be ever changing. So I didn't put specific dates on there. Really, at this point, there's no reason for people to have to go out of county to a mass vac site. But if people do plan to go up to Six Flags or elsewhere, to check on the state vaccination website to make sure that that site is still taking people for first doses, because to further confuse, for some of those sites, they're now only providing second doses for people, and they're kind of wrapping things up. And then, once again, here's how people can register in county. A reminder that for many people, their local primary care providers are now offering vaccines in their office, so that's an additional option for most people in the county. That's what I have for this week.
Questions?
Yes, Dr. Polsky. You mentioned closing the 231 site here in the county.
So we have not made any definitive plans at this point.
Right.
My expectation at this time is that we will keep that open through the summer.
Okay.
And
My apologies then.
And then after that, we'll see how much demand there really is. And part of that is that, especially with college students, in many cases needing to be vaccinated prior to going on campus, my expectation is we're going to have people who wait till the last minute. So July, early August, we're going to have another influx. I want to make sure that everyone has access to vaccinations. We may cut back on the number of days we're there because we have days, and again, 100 people countywide who got vaccinated last week, other than the teens, and most of them were when our nurses went out to the schools and vaccinated them in the schools. So there are days where we have 10 people show up an entire day to get vaccinated. And what we're looking at right now for our staff is ways to get out into the community. So, for instance, we've been talking to the management at Chesapeake Ranch Estates. Can we set up there at their clubhouse for certain days to have people in the community come out? So if we have staff sitting at the drive-through, essentially not doing much of anything, it makes a whole lot of sense to move them out in the community where hopefully they'll be much more productive.
Thank you.
And if we do get to the point where, well, I guess it's more when we get to the point when we no longer need the drive-through site, we will make sure there's a reasonable amount of advance notice.
All right, I think we're good, Dr. Polsky.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is proclamations. The first one is Safety Month, Commissioner Hart, and I believe in the audience we have Ellen Simpson and Dan Baker.
Thank you, Mr. President. And did you folks want to come up and, or how did you?
Yeah, they can come up.
I have the proclamation ready.
You can introduce yourselves and tell us what you do.
I'm Dan Baker, Safety Officer for Calvert County Government.
I'm Ellen Simpson, the Risk Manager.
And you still haven't got your voice back.
No.
Oh, just now. So this is different. Oh, no worries. All right, well. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County desires to recognize the benefits of fostering a strong safety culture for all county employees and for all citizens, whereas the greatest assets of the county are its employees and its citizens, and whereas each year more than 4 million workers suffer job-related injuries or illnesses and over 5,000 Americans die in work-related incidents affecting not only the hurt workers and families, but also negatively affecting the economy and local businesses. And whereas Calvert County government's risk management and safety program will participate in National Safety Month to enhance a commitment to safe and healthy workplace, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that the month of June be known as Safety Month in Calvert County. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of Calvert County Commissioners of Calvert County encourages all employees and citizens to recognize the value of safety in the workplace and at home, given under our hands and seal this 8th day of June, 2021, signed by all 5 county commissioners. This one come up. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. So the next item on the agenda under proclamations is Elder Abuse Awareness Month, Commissioner Weems. And in the audience, we have Amy Boucher and Belinda Reagan and Tanya Taylor on Teams. Maybe?
Good morning. I'm Amy Boucher. I'm an ombudsman for the Office on Aging.
Good morning. I'm Belinda Reagan. I'm with the Calvert County Department of Social Services Adult Services Unit.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning and welcome, ladies. If you could please come up, I'd like to read the proclamation to you. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County desires to recognize citizens who are dedicated to protecting and improving the quality of life in Calvert County. And whereas June 15, 2021 is recognized as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, a day to focus attention on the problem of physical abuse of elders and promote understanding of the challenges and opportunities presented by an aging population, bringing together senior citizens, their caregivers, national and local government, academia, and the private sector to exchange ideas on how best to reduce incidents and to develop elder-friendly policies. And whereas Calvert County Office on Aging and Calvert County Department of Social Services Adult Protective Service Program continues to play an integral part in advancing the welfare of each older adult receiving services, striving to create and maintain partnerships. And whereas it is our hope to eliminate elder abuse in Calvert County through education, awareness, community support, and collaboration among individuals, community groups, law enforcement, and other governmental agencies. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that the month of June be known as Elder Abuse Awareness Month in Calvert County. Be it further proclaimed that we urge all citizens to actively support efforts to end elder abuse and commend the Calvert County Office on Aging and the Calvert County Department of Social Services Adult Protective Services Program and their collaborative efforts with all partners to enhance the lives of older Americans in Calvert County. Given under our hands and seal this 8th day of June, 2021. Thank you, ladies. Please.
So being an elder myself and the abuse that I take sometimes sitting up here, I appreciate the fact that there are ladies out there that can help me handle this abuse. So really appreciate what you all do for the citizens of Calvert County.
Let the record reflect so noted.
That's right.
That's the best you can get at.
I second that.
Commissioner Hutchins and I need all the support we can get. Next item on the agenda under awards is a memo from Director Woodson, but she's not coming up. So please introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Dina Davis, Human Resources Deputy Director. We're grateful today for the opportunity to celebrate workplace safety. We're here today to talk to you about the 2021 Safety Champion Award. The Department of Human Resources created the Safety Champion Award in 2019 to recognize individuals who either contribute to Calvert County government's safety culture by providing assistance and knowledge, or by demonstrating an exemplary level of safety consciousness while in the course of performing job duties. The Safety Champion Award was not awarded in 2020 due to the pandemic. This year, Risk Management and Safety requested nominations from Safety Committee members for the Safety Champion Award. Although all the nominees were Safety Champion worthy, we felt one employee's safety efforts stood out. Philip Long Jr., Buildings and Grounds Worker 1 with the Office on Aging, has been selected as the 2021 recipient of the Safety Champion Award for his consistent efforts to maintain safety at the 3 senior centers for employees and citizens. Mr. Long ensures signage is posted to notify everyone of a spill or hazards. He painted the curbs in the parking lot at the Calvert Pines Senior Center to make it easier for walkers and county bus drivers to see the curb. He has traveled to all 3 senior centers to tighten bolts on chairs to ensure chair safety. Before the COVID closures, he maintained fitness equipment the seniors used by lubricating treadmills and tightening bolts on the equipment. Mr. Long was nominated by Lisa Caudle, the Aging Services Long-Term Care Manager, with the full support of Aging Services Division Chief Susan Justice and Aging Services Program Manager Edward Sullivan. Risk Management and Safety is proud to recognize Philip Long Sr. for his continued commitment to safety for his fellow employees and the citizens of Calvert County. We request the Board of County Commissioners recognize Mr. Long as the 2021 recipient of the Safety Champion Award on June 8th, 2021.
As long as they come up, would you like to say something first?
No, I'm shy.
Oh, come on now.
You are not shy.
Well, Mr. Long, I want to present this to you, and I want to say something too. You know, this is so special because, you know, when we were little, they watched over us. The elders don't touch a stove, it's hot. Look both ways. Watching us, even though we didn't know they were watching us, you know, to keep us out of harm's way. And it's our turn to do the same thing now, you know, and that's what you're doing there. And even with the last proclamation, children and elders are the most prized thing in a society. You know, if you want to gauge yourself, look how you train your children. Look how you respect your elders. If you really want to gauge a society, and with what you're doing there, just really puts the best of us out there. And I want to thank you, and the county wants to thank you. And then come on up here and let's get a picture. I know you're a little shy, but, you know.
Hey, Philip, we like the sash.
Look sharp. Make sure you get a good fight now. Take your time. Right.
Awesome.
Dan Baker, Safety Officer with the county. I'd like to say a few words on behalf of Phil. He does an excellent job. He makes my job easier. We had a problem with chairs breaking at a lot of the senior centers where we had a couple people fall on the floor. Now we do a quarterly inspection of all the chairs. Philip handles that. Anytime with some of our senior members, if you raise something on the floor a quarter inch, they're going to trip over it. Philip is always conscientious and going around making sure we have none of that. Anytime there's any kind of issue, he takes care of it or he calls me. We get it straight with Building and Grounds, but he's always been on it. And even when he worked at the health department, he was still our building and our insurance, and he took care of everything up there as well. So we go back 20 years. But he makes my job easier. And Philip, thank you for all you do and caring. A lot of people don't care like you do when it comes to their job. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, I'm good.
Somebody asked me to describe Philip. Shy would never come into my mind. But we do appreciate these opportunities to recognize outstanding employees that we have in Calvert County. And as Danny Baker said, you know, Philip takes his job to heart and takes care of those senior centers and those seniors there just like they were his own grandparents. So we're very fortunate to have Philip. So thank you for what you do, Philip. Yes, sir. So the next item under awards is Lorraine Joyner.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Lorraine Joyner, and I am an Executive Administrative Assistant with the Department of Community Resources. Here today as Chair of the Employee Recognition Committee to present the Employee of the Month. Quick reminder of what we look for in an EOM, and it's an award that acknowledges individual excellence for superior job performance or special individual efforts in the areas of effectiveness of public contact, respect of fellow employees, quality and or quantity of work, contributions toward improving organizational morale, and actions that improve the county's public image. Anyone can nominate a coworker for this award. Check out the ERC webpage or contact an ERC member for information. Now, it is my privilege to introduce Calvert County Government's May 2021 Employee of the Month, Kathy Rubuski, Office Assistant for Calvert Alliance Against Substance Abuse, a division of the Department of Community Resources. Kathy, come on down. Kathy actually is shy, but we're not going to let her off the hook. Kathy is being recognized for her efforts to develop innovative ways to share prevention resources during the COVID pandemic. As food distribution efforts increased, Kathy reached out to local churches and food banks to encourage them to share information on the county's drug drop boxes and to distribute doTERRA drug disposal packets. That's a tidy bit of alliteration there. Kathy responded to citizen inquiries, explained the location of the drop boxes and how the disposal packets work to help reduce the misuse of medications. Kathy is always ready with words of encouragement and support for citizens coping with issues related to substance use and addiction. And she is committed to providing only the most up-to-date and accurate information to Calvert County citizens. She continually updates hopeforcalvert.org, CASA's online resource guide, and the support group and resource guide that details the location and time of local recovery support group meetings. During COVID, this task was particularly challenging as many groups transitioned to virtual meetings and meeting information changed on a daily basis. When social distancing requirements limited CASA's normal program and fundraising activities, Kathy pivoted to focus on critical prevention outreach and support for people in recovery. Kathy started with CASA in 2013, so she's been with CASA for about 8 years. I was fortunate to be on the interview panel when she was hired, and I could tell that she was a perfect fit for this job. She just kind of radiates compassion and kindness and generosity, and she really has been a delight to work with these last 8 years. Kathy she's a dedicated employee that stepped up to support our department by assisting with technical review of CARE's nonprofit relief grant applications, and she helped register seniors over the phone and in person for the COVID vaccine clinics. Kathy also works part-time for Calvert County Parks and Recreation, where her reputation as a hard worker and a builder of community goodwill is equally respected. The ERC is delighted to join the Board of County Commissioners in recognizing this exceptional coworker for being a positive support to citizens, for making the county safer and healthier, its services more accessible, and for demonstrating what we all know, that Calvert County is an awesome place to live and work. Thank you, Kathy, for all you do, and thank you, Commissioners, for your continued support of the Employee Recognition Committee and for partnering with us to recognize Calvert County's truly remarkable workforce. I think that Kathy's supervisor, Candy, would like to say a few words, but you get to go up there and have a photo op.
I'll stand with you.
Good morning, Candace D'Agostino, the coordinator of the Calvert Alliance Against Substance Abuse. I just want to thank Kathy for all of her hard work. She's been with CASA for 8 years. She probably feels like it's 20. We do a lot of work. I'm a full-time, Kathy's part-time, but I believe we do a lot of work for the community. She has stepped up, like Lorraine said, during COVID and really got the information out to the citizens. And I know she's respected by our department and everyone she interacts with. So Kathy, I want to thank you for helping me make CASA a great organization and just being an awesome county employee.
Kathy, would you like to say a few words, ma'am? Okay. Yes, of course, ma'am.
Yes. I want to thank all of you for the opportunity to thank the ERC for not just for this award, but for everything they do to recognize, celebrate, and support the employees of Calvert County. And a special thank you to Candace D'Agostino for nominating me for this. It is truly an honor to be part of CASA. The work that the Board of Commissioners does under her awesome leadership is really amazing. Thank you.
Very kind, and thank you. Thank you. And we have a check for you, ma'am, and a salutation. If you would honor us, we'd take a picture with you.
So, next item on the agenda under recognitions, Director Shannon Nizal, Parks and Rec.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shannon Nizal, Director of Parks and Recreation. I'm really proud to come before you today to recognize some of our amazing staff that we have in Parks and Recreation. There are so many things that these employees do, not only to benefit the citizens of our community and to make life better for our residents while they're on their day-to-day jobs, but also the extracurriculars that they participate in and are able to do to move forward their careers and make them better for the citizens of Calvert County. So I have a few people in the audience here live with us and also a few people that are virtual with us that we'd like to recognize for some of their accomplishments that they've achieved over the last year and a half. So Bob Branham, our Deputy Director, who is with us virtually, he achieved his Master of Science in Recreation and Parks Management from Frostburg State University. So we're very proud of him for that. He was also recognized as a member of the longest class ever of Leadership Southern Maryland, as Director Cook would say, for that program. So we're very proud of him for that. Brian Hogan, our Parks Superintendent, and those that are with us, when I call you, if you could come up to the front to be recognized, please. So Brian Hogan, he's our Parks Superintendent, and this year he was recognized as the 2021 Institute of Applied Agriculture's Early Career Alumni Award, and we're very proud of him for this recognition. Brian has done an amazing job with our fields and coming up with new and innovative ideas to make sure that our fields are green year-round, so we're very thankful for his hard work on that. Sandy Abel, our Recreation Assistant Coordinator in our Southern District. She works over at Southern Community Center. Sandy achieved her Certified Parks and Recreation Professional Certificate, or CPRP. So this is a certification that shows profession in Parks and Recreation, in the field of Parks and Recreation. We're very proud of her for attaining that certification. As well, Paul Lungberg, our Recreation Coordinator in the Southern District, also achieved his Certified Parks and Recreation Professional Certificate in February of this year. And then Joy Weir, our Therapeutic Recreation Supervisor, she was sworn in as chair of the Therapeutic Recreation Branch of the Maryland Recreation and Parks Association this year, bringing forth the ideas that come from Calvert to the state of Maryland. So we're very proud of her for that accomplishment. And then virtually, we have Andy Brown, Naturalist 2, who was nominated to the Board of Eastern Bird Banders Association. Also, if you're not familiar, the Division of Natural Resources is very, very prolific in their birding, their knowledge of raptors in the county, and they're very well versed in that. And we're very proud of Andy for representing Calvert County on that association. And then Karen Molinas, who is also with us virtually, our Natural Resources Division Chief. She was named to the Watershed Stewards Academy Steering Committee and also attained the certification of Certified Climate Professional, the first class within the state to achieve that recognition. So again, we're very proud of our staff here in Parks and Recreation being able to achieve all of this outside of the normal working hours and taking that extra time to complete those accomplishments and take part in recognizing Calvert County across the state and across the region. So I welcome everybody to, thank them for their hard work, as I really appreciate it.
Sure. Picture. You better stay up. What do you want to do? It's going to be a crowd.
Kevin, that's fine. But would you, Rose, we'll just actually find your window. You can see the light. Okay. I can see you. Sure.
Yeah, it's going to be in the middle because we're
What? You know, Shannon, I know. Okay. You know, I'm sensitive with that short comment.
I'm saying.
I know what you meant. Cool.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you, Brian.
I believe Director Nizal has the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Again, Shannon Nizal, Director of Parks and Recreation. So this next recognition is very important for us in Parks and Recreation. This week, we are going through the process of accreditation through CAPRA, or the Commission on Accreditation for Parks and Recreation Agencies, with the National Recreation and Parks Association. This has been a long process. We've been working on it for at least 4 years. To get to this point, so we're very excited to be a part of this process. And I'm going to give the members of the community a little bit of background on what accreditation means and the process that we're going through. So the Commission on Accreditation, it provides quality assurance and quality improvement of accredited parks and recreation agencies throughout the United States by providing agencies with a management system of best practices. CAPRA is the only national accreditation of parks and recreation agencies, and is a valuable measure of an agency's overall quality of operation, management, and service to the community. Achieving CAPRA accreditation is the best way to demonstrate that Calvert County Parks and Recreation and staff provide our citizens with the highest level of service. The process of accreditation demonstrates that Parks and Recreation meets national standards of best practice, recognizes Calvert County as a great place to live, helps secure external financial support and reduce costs for the county. It holds CCPR accountable to the public and ensures responsiveness to meet their needs, and ensures that all staff are providing quality customer service. So on March 29th of this year, we submitted our self-assessment for the accreditation audit. This includes 151 standards of best practices. And on approval from the commission review team, the site visit team was informed of the proceeding with a virtual site visit to audit Parks and Recreation. This is occurring this week. We started yesterday, and with us virtually, we have our 3 site visit team members who we would really like to thank for their volunteer efforts in helping us get through this process. We have our site visit team chair, Fred Cusero from the city of Coral Gables, Florida. Team member Mary Steinbach from Montrose Recreation District in Colorado. And also team member Joy Hawthorne from the city of Opelika, Florida. These 3 individuals are trained in the accreditation process and are experts in the field in their own right, who again are volunteering their time to assist us. So we really appreciate their efforts and thank them for visiting us virtually. We wish they could have been here in person, but we sent them a couple crab cakes just so they got the experience. So again, I just wanted to thank them for their efforts and show the commissioners that we also appreciate your support in helping us go through this process.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
So Shannon, this is a good time with all your staff and all, just to say thank you. You and I have had a lot of conversations over this COVID year, and, for all the county staff, but, with you guys, I've always said it, you touch folks from the time they're born to their last days. There's something in Parks and Recs from everybody, from parks to everything. And it's been challenging, things that we take for granted doing every day, all of a sudden we're told we couldn't do anymore. And you guys are the ones have to explain it, and there's really no playbook for what we just experienced over this last year. It's never been done. This COVID took everybody off storm, from everything from trying to find enough staff to, the rules changed almost from week to week, and it's been difficult. And I tell you, I'm out there all the time. I'm at the parks. Everybody conducts themselves so professional. The parks stay looking clean. There's always somebody out there. But I tell you what, me personally, I think it looks fantastic when I'm out there. I think with the resources that we have to work with, it looks fantastic. The professionalism, the cleanliness. Hopefully we never experience another year like we did COVID-wise, but you guys have made me proud as a commissioner that it would be very easy to snap sometimes, because everybody, me and Commissioner Williams talked about this. Everybody, we're tense. You turn on TV, we're tense, and you're told, "What do you mean I can't play soccer? Played soccer for 50 years," type thing. I can't play, So, what a great job you guys have done in being patient and compassionate. And making us proud. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, gentlemen, just to emphasize what has taken place here over that period of time of these accreditations, I'm familiar with accreditations of law enforcement agencies. These national accreditations bring a great deal to focus not only to the agency but to the county and the state, and consequently people remember that when they come and visit and that type of thing. But also it helps us internally as far as being able to better position ourselves to liability coverage, things of that nature. That helps in that area too. So that's significant. Thank you.
So yesterday I happened to barge into Mark's office when he was on the call with the site visit team, and they had glowing remarks for the work that you all have done in the parks in Calvert County. So we do want to take this opportunity to congratulate you and thank you for all the work you do for Calvert County.
Thank you, and we should appreciate your support very much. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day. So next item on the agenda is appointments. Deputy Vasallo. Almost promoted.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Vasallo, Deputy County Administrator. You have two appointments this morning. The first one is for the Environmental Commission. And staff is requesting a motion to reappoint Andrew Rogers and to appoint Michael Rooney, Neil Smith, and Chad Leo to fill the vacancies. There will be 2 vacancies remaining, and we're asking that the Commissioners consider balancing the membership among Commissioner Districts 1, 2, and 3.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we reappoint Andrew Rogers and to appoint Michael Rooney, Neil Smith, and Chad Leo to fill the vacancies on the board. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next.
Your second appointment is to the Veterans Affairs Commission, and staff is requesting a motion to appoint Wilson Perrin for a 2-year term as decided by the board last week. And this will be the representative from American Legion Post 220.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of Wilson Perrin to the Veterans Affairs Commission. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So now we move on to old business. Item 1, Commissioner Hart.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. And Jerry, would you like to lead it? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jared
Good morning.
Deputy Director of Public Works. I'll read a memo for budget adjustment number 77 CIP road drainage follow-up. On May 18, 2021, Public hearing was held to discuss the Public Works request for a budget adjustment to transfer the remaining excise tax funding from 5 capital improvement projects to the road drainage capital project. Discussion. The projects highlighted by DPW are the Barstow Leach's Wharf Road, Lake Kelbrook Dam, Hardesty Road at Dalrymple Road, Shores of Calvert Dam repairs, Lake Ridge Dam repairs. These projects have remaining excise tax totaling $489,144.61. Fiscal impact, there's no fiscal impact to the county. All the funding identified in these 5 completed projects was approved as CIP budget process and will remain dedicated to infrastructure improvements. Conclusion and recommendation, we have not received any public comment regarding the budget adjustment transfer. We have observed the 10-day waiting period. Staff recommends the Board of Commissioners close the record and sign the resolution to transfer the $489,144.64 from the completed CIPs to the road drainage CIP project. Any questions?
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the staff recommendation, close the record, and have you sign the resolution to transfer $489,144.61 from the completed CIP to the road drainage piping CIP.
Second.
A motion and second that we close the record, approve and adopt the resolution adopting budget adjustment number 077 CIP. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you,
sir. Next item under old business is Department of Budget and Finance, adoption of the FY22 operating and capital budget. Beth, how are you? Good morning.
Good to see everybody in person.
That's right.
So, background. 2 public hearings were conducted, the first on March 23rd, 2021, and the second on May 18th, 2021, to present and receive public comment on the staff recommended budget and the county commissioner's budget for FY22. Discussion. The FY22 general fund operating budget totaling $327,940,026 is a balanced budget with a $31,076 surplus. Overall, the revenues that fund the budget increased by approximately $9.4 million in comparison to FY21 adopted general fund budget. $8.5 million of this increase is related to income taxes. The FY21 included the expected peak revenues of the Dominion, now Berkshire Hathaway, payment in lieu of tax agreement, or also known as pilot. FY22 starts the decline with a $0.55 million decrease. The FY22 budget continues to focus on providing funding for education, public safety, and capital investments, while maintaining a high level of service to our community. $2.8 million of the increased revenues will be used to provide additional funding for the Sheriff's Office. The other most notable increases include pension contributions, career EMS, and health insurance. Funding towards education remains the primary focus of this budget at 41% of the general fund operating budget and 28% of the 6-year capital projects budget. Education funding for operations of $134.7 million is provided, which is $2.3 million above the state mandated maintenance of effort, or MOE, funding level. There are 46.6 new positions in this budget, including 31.55 public safety positions. The majority of these positions were awarded throughout FY 2021. This budget includes 1 salary step for county employees. The fiscal impact. The tax-supported general fund budget is increasing 2.9% over the prior year. Conclusion recommendation. Staff recommends that the board close the record and approve and sign the resolution adopting the FY22 budget and related tax rates and fees.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions? Beth?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we close the record and approve and adopt the resolution adopting the FY 2022 budget and related tax rates, fines, and fees being effective as reflected in the resolution.
Second. So I have a motion and a second to close the record, approve and adopt the resolution adopting the FY 2022 budget and related tax rates, fines, and fees being effective as reflected in the resolution. Any discussion on that motion?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
just some observations rather than contention of points. But again, my position that I think we should really look closely at in using capital projects as bonding for long-term capital projects versus using liquidity. I know we had quite an anomaly this year. It's hard to figure out where we're going for sure until we see a trend emerge from this. We know pretty sure that within probably 6 months following the peak of the recovery, employment should probably recover within that same time frame also. So we should have a good idea in the first quarter of 22 as to where we're coming from. So that'll be interesting when we see that November report. Secondly, the emphasis on the College of Southern Maryland, the support needs to be front-loaded on an annual basis because that is an institution here, not only in Southern Maryland, but here servicing those citizens of Calvert County to help them retool from the events of the COVID-19, as well as those that are leaving school and staying in this area to give them an opportunity to continue their education. So it's something that we've got to front load as far as not calling it a maintenance of effort, but as far as our annual contribution goes to that campus. Cybersecurity, the President of the United States just focused heavily on cybersecurity with regards as a terrorism type of act. So that's something that we're going to have to continue to have a robust cybersecurity capability within our IT. It's not a question of if it's going to happen, it's a question of when it's going to happen, and we need to, one, be positioned to be able to try to avert its damage, and then as far as consequent management. So that's going to take additional focus too. Infrastructure problems, obviously the effects of Isaias really hit us hard. We're coming into hurricane season, and every year we've got to continue to watch for infrastructure issues there. Finally, with regards to public safety, we've had a tremendous growth here, obviously, on the public safety side with the career EMS, and that's going to continue. And their own projections, when asked where we would be in 5 years, whether we'd be at 100% of that EMS, and the thought was it will be there before 5 years. So we've got to continue to watch that operation too. Lastly, the Sheriff's Department. We need to, as we've discussed here already, and some dialogue back and forth during the course of budget presentations, to look at some type of formula for the Sheriff's Department. With that in mind, a total picture of law enforcement has to take place in Calvert County. And that includes the Maryland State Police and its detachment, because that's a significant number of people. When you look at the metrics for law enforcement, obviously one of them is that population ratio, and you've got to include total law enforcement in that. Second thing is you've got to be able to look at what the metrics are as far as what their inputs are and what their outputs are in order to achieve the outcomes. And so metrics become an absolute necessity as to things like calls for service, as things like the time and relationship for those calls for service, the accidents picture as to where they are. Transportation study showed there's identified already the accident locations as far as key intersections. We need to look at what the changes have been as a result of that. So it's, and there are a lot more metrics than that, having been there and done that and overseen 23 counties and contribution to Baltimore City as well. So metrics become an extreme important part. But I think we need to move towards positioning ourselves for some type of formula with the Sheriff's Department. And lastly, Mr. President, I think we need to be able to undertake looking at our form of government. At some point in time, we need to actively begin discussions about what is a more effective form of government, and home rule offers some benefits there. So I think that I would recommend that we take a look at that over the next several years, because it's coming, our population, our growth, and we'll know based on our recovery. And that'll give us the ability to be more agile and doing more at the local level and less dependent upon the General Assembly. And with that, Mr. President, thank you much. This is just my thoughts.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. So I want to take this opportunity, most of you know, the budget process takes just about a year. We'll soon start on the next budget. And I want to thank staff and all the department heads for all their efforts because, this budget that we just approved contains a 3% cut. So it's the first time that's been done in a while, and it took some effort on behalf of all the department heads to come to grips with what that cut was going to look like. Also includes the property tax reduction that we implemented last year. There's a cap on the bonding as we move forward. There's public safety, as you heard in the presentation. We added more EMS to serve our citizens based on needs. And to think that in little old Calvert County, our budget's $327 million. And the first thing you learn in this chair is that there are many needs and wants. And $327 million doesn't seem like enough most of the time. So it's not an easy task. We all struggle with it because we do take our jobs very serious and the fiscal responsibility that comes with it. But we do the best we can with what we have to serve the citizens of this county and provide the resources to staff to do their jobs the best they can. So with that, I do want to thank my fellow commissioners and all the staff out there for their efforts to come to this conclusion for FY22 budget. So thank you. So the next item on the agenda is consent items. There are 3. Department of Parks and Recreation loan extension request for Flag Pond's Living Shoreline. Number 2, Department of Planning and Zoning Historic Preservation District Tax Credit, TC 2020-06. Item 3, Department of Public Safety, extension of the local state of emergency. Are there any objections? Hearing none, those items will be adopted as presented. Next, we move on to new business. Item 1, Department of Finance and Budget. Beth?
I can read it,
Yeah,
if you want, Mr. President.
Commissioner Hart can read it for you. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Background, the purpose of this contract for construction of program space at the Calvert County Detention Center. The area will contain classroom, instructional space to prepare inmates to successfully re-enter society. Discussion. During the weeks of February 7, 2021 and February 14, 2021, advertisements appeared in 2 local newspapers, the E-Maryland Marketplace website, the county's Facebook page listing bids for the reference contract. 9 bids were received and opened during a virtual bid opening March 19, 2021. The bid tabulation from the bid opening and the bid comparisons are attached. The bids were thoroughly reviewed and the lowest apparent bidder, Nastos.
Sounds good.
Okay. Construction Inc. meets all requirements and specifications. Nastos Construction Inc. has satisfactorily provided service for the county in the past. In addition, reference checks provided satisfactory comments. The Department of Public Works is also requesting an approval for $187,469.68 contingency for unforeseen changes or modifications. Fiscal impact. Funding for this contract has been allocated in the Detention Center Construction Capital Projects account 4103-45006. Conclusion recommendation. In accordance with Section 6-101 of the Code of Public Laws, it is recommended that the Board of County Commissioners adopt staff's recommended findings in Attachment A and award the contract to the lowest responsive bidder, Nastos Construction, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Inc. of Lanham, Maryland, in the amount of $1,207,300, optional add-on unit pricing if required and approved by the county, and approve a contingency for unforeseen changes or modifications in the amount of $187,469.68. Mr. President, I make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second, Mr. President.
Have a motion and a second to adopt staff's recommended findings in Attachment A and award the contract to the lowest responsive bidder, Nastos Construction Incorporated, Lanham, Maryland, in the amounts. and subject to the conditions set forth in the memo. Any discussion? So before we vote, I voted against this project when it was originally proposed, so today I'm going to continue my vote of opposition, just for the record. So, hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. So the motion carries 3-1. And then note Commissioner McConkey's out of the room, please. Next item under new business is Office of the County Attorney, local requirements to implement the Maryland Police Accountability Act of 2021. Commissioner Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Background. The purpose of this meeting is twofold. First, to present a brief synopsis of the local requirements imposed by 2021 laws of Maryland under Chapter 59, the Maryland Police Accountability Act of 2021, the Act. The second purpose is to present public outreach measures that have been deployed and those that are going to be developed. This act requires the creation and standing up of a police accountability board and an administrative charging committee. Physical impact, indeterminable, anticipated to be significant. Conclusion and recommendations, the Board of County Commissioners is asked to consider the presentation, ask any questions you deem necessary and relevant, and direct staff as to any changes you wish to implement. Mr. President, the County Attorney has a slide presentation to present that he'll walk us through.
Thank you, Commissioners. We were here 2 weeks ago, John Norris, County Attorney for the record, here 2 weeks ago talking about the Maryland Police Accountability Act of 2021. Just to do a quick recap, the Board of County Commissioners is required to appoint both a Police Accountability Board and an Administrative Charging Committee. The police discipline, law enforcement programs, and procedures have to be in effect not later than July 1, 2022, when this act goes into effect. And Calvert County is not exempt from the act because we do not have police force. The deputy sheriffs are covered as police officers under this enactment. So the act makes changes that generally relate to law enforcement, including altering the requirements during traffic stops, establishing higher education financial assistance programs for police officers, increasing civil liability limits for police officers that change how you calculate the liability under the Local Government Tort Claims Act, repealing the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights, adopting provisions that relate to statewide accountability, and the development of disciplinary matrix by the state board that will then be passed down to the local jurisdictions. The accountability board has requirements. They must, the Board of County Commissioners have requirements imposed upon you. You must establish the membership of the Police Accountability Board, establish its budget, establish its staff, appoint a chair with relevant experience, and establish the procedures for their record keeping. The Police Accountability Board, once it's stood up, is required to have at least quarterly meetings to meet with local law enforcement to discuss matters of local policing. They appoint some of the members to the Administrative Charging Committee. The Board of County Commissioners appoints other members to that committee. They receive complaints of misconduct by the police filed by the public. They forward those on to the Administrative Charging Committee or the appropriate law enforcement office. They review quarterly the outcomes of disciplinary matters considered by the Charging Committee, and by December 31, they are required to submit a report that will identify trends of law enforcement officers in the county and recommend policy changes to the Board of County Commissioners that we are hoping will find a mechanism to be able to implement those policy changes, because the sheriff is a separate elected official. So there's some things that we're expecting will have to be addressed in the upcoming session. And there's some things that we hear might be afoot for the next session, but we'll have to wait and see what January brings. For the Administrative Charging Committees, they review the findings of the law enforcement agency's investigation. They review body camera footage that may be relevant to a complaint of misconduct. They determine whether or not to administratively charge an officer, and if the officer is charged, they recommend the discipline in accordance with the disciplinary matrix that's been adopted by that law enforcement agency. That's the one, though, that is also handed down from the state. So locally, there should not be much difference between a Calvert County disciplinary matrix and a Charles County, St. Mary's County disciplinary matrix, or Anne Arundel County for that matter. The when they issue a written opinion that describes their findings and recommendations, they forward that to the chief of police. They forward that to the law enforcement officer, and they forward that to the complainant. When the chief of police receives action that's requested by the administrative charging committee, the chief of police has to implement not less than that action that's requested under the disciplinary matrix. So when they do request information and they request people to come testify, the administrative charging committee allows them to come by, to be accompanied by representatives or counsel. They can find also that the charges or allegations against a police officer are unfounded. They may exonerate the police officer. They may record in writing any failure of supervision that contributed to the police officer's misconduct. They can request information from the law enforcement agency. They can find that the allegations, it appears to be a duplicate slide. I apologize for that. Within 15 days after they issue, the administrative charging committee issues its documents, the chief of law enforcement has to offer the discipline that has been administratively charged or something more severe, but they may not deviate downwards. The Board of County Commissioners directed us 2 weeks ago when we were last here to return with an outreach plan and a timeline to gain public input on the membership, Calvert County citizens, how it will reflect the racial, gender, and cultural diversity. Will not include active duty police officers because the state law precludes it, and reflecting staggered terms. We had that in the draft ordinance. The timeline for some public outreach and what we have started is a draft letter to community leaders. We have that ready to go with a copy of the draft ordinance. It's not only one letter to each of the people that we are able to identify as community leaders, but it's actually providing them 2 copies of that letter, 2 copies of that ordinance, because I believe that they are in the best position to identify other people who may also have input and wish to provide it. So I want to give them an extra copy so that it goes farther than who we know or who we might suspect might want to provide input. We are in the process of developing a web page that will provide all of the resources online for anybody that has internet access or can get to a library and access it through the internet. It will excuse me, also provide an opportunity for comments. I don't want to create an online forum where there's bickering and fighting, so I want comments to come to the county. We will document those and we will provide those to the board so that the board can consider them, but I don't want it to be a forum where there's back and forth of different viewpoints. We want everybody to be heard. We don't necessarily want everybody to be able to challenge each other on our website. So the timeline for the public outreach, we identified June 8 to August 31 to come back to you a number of times with our current status, where we are in getting these letters out, where we are in getting the web page done, how many comments we've received back. We need to launch that in that time frame. We need to come back to you, and we need to create the web page. September 21, we're looking at advertising for membership, determining their FY23 budget, because as you mentioned, adopting today the budget for 22 today starts the process for the 23 budget tomorrow. October 21, we'll be back to the board to appoint the membership and adopt the ordinance, creating the Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee. In November 21, having the first meeting of the Accountability Board. So the request today is that the board approve this timeline, direct us to move forward and execute.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
To try to elaborate a little bit on this, because that's a lot to consider in one bite, especially if you've never worked in it or been exposed to it. What we have to do by law, which is now Chapter 59 of the Public Safety Acts of Maryland, we have to create a Police Accountability Board. Subsequent to that, we then, in concert with the Police Accountability Board, have to create a charging committee. That's the only 2 committees that were appointed. The third element of this is the trial board, and that falls to the law enforcement agency to present and to put that together. And that is prescribed by law as to the makeup of that charging committee. It's also prescribed by law as to the makeup of the police accountability board, and it'll be the, not the police accountability board, the administrative charging committee. The police accountability board chair or the chair's designee will be a member of that administrative charging committee. And then it's specified by law that 2 members be selected by the county police accountability board, and then 2 civilian members selected by the chief executive officer of the county. Well, we don't have a chief executive officer of the county, so that's going to take some clarification. We make the assumption that's county commissioners as a board, but that's one of the question marks that I have there, is to get an exact read from the Attorney General's office as to what that means. The makeup of the board that I've proffered is a balanced board. It has a chair that's selected by us, and that should be the first appointee that we designate, because then the chair can come on and help with the assemblage of the rest of the police accountability board. I included the chair to be a former law enforcement officer in an executive capacity, because obviously someone's got to be at that level to have understood what pre-existed here for 40 years and then how to convert this over into this document that was a 71-page bill and make it workable. The Police Accountability Board does not try anyone. The Police Accountability Board does not fire anyone. That is the law enforcement agency. The Administrative Charging Board reviews the process, and they have significant powers, and reviews the process, renders their findings, and turns them over to the chief law enforcement executive of the agency involved. So it's a very, in a way, complex but yet well-defined. The only thing that the legislature left us is the accountability board is the wide open as to how it's structured. They specified how the administrative charging board was structured and how a trial board will be structured. But it leaves open to us how the police accountability board, which we have the responsibility for. So I included the chief as an executive. I include as retired. I included 3 law enforcement officers retired, because it's specified in there, no active police officer can be a part of this board. And then I identified 3 civilians from the different cultural groups, because the law does specify, to the extent practicable, and that's what's feasible, to have racial balance, cultural balance, gender balance, that type of thing. So it falls on the board to do that part, to keep the balance. So that balance is 1 representative from each of the 3 Black, African American, Hispanic, or Asian descent, and then 2 people that have been practitioners of mental health, and a person that has been a chaplain in the military or some other public service, because that gives them a feel. They've been out there in a type of setting that they understand the stress and the emotion that takes place. So that's what I'm proffering that we put forward for them. And council has gone to great lengths in creating a resolution there that we saw 2 weeks ago. So I'm offering that we use that resolution as a base document. And then from there, accept input from the citizenry, however council and the PIO have put that together, that mechanism. That said, I think we need to condense down the lead time, or not the lead time, but the discussion time that's out there. Because as I laid out, there's 4 quarters worth of work that's got to be done between now and July 1st, 2022. And we have to be ready to go on July 1st, 2022 at the stroke of midnight. Ready to accept, because once a complaint is made, you have 3 days in which to get this to the proper chain of command or the proper chain of action there. So I enumerated that, and I won't go into that today. It's pretty lengthy. But at longest, I would say, keep it till July 31st to finish the public outreach and to move forward on selecting a board. And then you've got 3 quarters left in which to condense down all this stuff. So in just getting a board on, just selecting a board, you've got to have the applicants, and I suggest we advertise it for at least 30 days as opposed to 2 weeks. You've got to determine the administrative support requirements, which we can begin to work, but we've got to know the numbers of people. The preliminary budget discussions, again, predicated upon the numbers, because we want to offer a set of $500 per quarter for each member of the Police Accountability Board, but then the Administrative Charging Board, which follows that appointment, because we've got to have the one in front of the other, should be on a per diem basis, because we don't know how long they're going to be engaged in investigations and how long that'll take. And so moving that appointment process through human resources, through ethics, through criminal history background process, and then to hold the first meeting is a lot to undertake, and then you get into the training that's required, and it's significant. And we've got to do the training to make sure that this board has the awareness it needs, especially those who have not been involved. So now I mentioned there's 4 total of 9. There's 4 law enforcement retired, and there's 5 civilians. Now someone could say, well, couldn't one of those 5 be another retired law enforcement officer? No, because you can stop that as a board. You're the appointee. You can keep that cultural, racial, and gender balance yourself. So that falls on the board. They didn't dictate that to us. So that's the route I think we should travel. Condense this down from August to July 31st, and then be able to launch into this aggressive training over the next 3 quarters after that, because you can't expect these folks to come in every day. I mean, it's just, that's why it's spread over 3 quarters.
And Tim, there's no doubt your experience with this is off the chain. My fear with trying to get 9, we struggle to fill boards now. And, I mean, obviously a quorum will be, I would assume, 5 at that point. But that may be a challenge with this short window to get 9. I don't know if it's no harm, no foul to try to get it to that, but as long as there's some mechanisms that the board doesn't not function if we don't have 9, because especially with this, I think it's going to be a challenge. I mean, you see, nobody even runs for the Board of Ed. Well, I mean, and you know what I mean? And that's a, you know, not saying just, you know, one's more important than the other, but we've seen many times seats run unopposed, so that's my only fear with the number 9.
Well, I think it is, and that's why I say 30 days. I mean, we've got to have a longer lead as far as advertisement to get the response. And to the degree that we can get publicity on this, that'll really help too. I think the news media will help us a lot in that regards, because we're leaning forward. I would estimate we're leaning forward sooner than most on this.
Sure, and I don't want us to say, well, 9 people applied, you have to take all 9. You know, so lots of I want as many choices as we can, choose from. So that's just my only fear of, I think it's going to be a lot. But
it's about advertising.
I think that is. It's going to take a lot of community work, community outreach. It's certainly with the 5 civilian members. We should be able to get that from the community outreach and their own little cultural or community associations. Retired law enforcement officers and the time that they're going to, especially the chair is going to have to put in, that's significant.
It's a big ask.
Yeah.
It really is. And
is.
It's not a huge financial reward. You guys have heard me say this board's going to be very challenging.
if we adopt this timeline, if things look like we're ahead of schedule, we can always amend.
Would
Right.
please the board, we could plan to come back monthly just for an update.
Updates.
I think
'Cause-
that would be helpful.
Yeah, because we may reach a point where, we're just not getting any feedback and we've worked through the comments we've got. So, that timeline is flexible in my opinion. But
As you direct.
No, I
But
agree.
it's a big ask,
It
We're
is.
fortunate to have Commissioner Hutchins with his experience to have a draft to even put out to begin the conversation.
Yes.
Because, and as Commissioner Hart's noted, I don't know how many people are gonna jump up and down to get on this thing if they realize how much work is involved.
It's hard, it's emotional.
That's it. That's it.
It's tough task. I mean, just council and I worked on it for a month. I'd worked on it 3 weeks before that.
Right.
So, I mean, looking there at quite a length of time just looking at this thing, trying to read through it 10 times and figure out what it is we can do and what we can't do. What do we need clarified? And then there's 6 or 7 more bills that are even parts and parcel pieces to this maybe that come into play. And I think some of them certainly will have amendments made in the next session or at least consider amendments. But this, I think, will stand pretty firm because of the issue with the veto that had already been executed and then overridden. But we still need those couple items that are clarification, like the word county executive type thing. We make the assumption that it's us,
Right.
But county executive has a specific meaning in county executive form of government. So,
And the chair of this board's going to be walking through a grocery store and going to get confrontation. I mean, it's a reality, and especially in today's world, it's going to be a reality of, I didn't like what you said, or I didn't agree, or I do agree. I mean, I've said that many times to county staff. This is a political job. I mean, even from the person that drives the truck up to Mark Willis to whoever, people, I said to a friend of mine one time, I was really frustrated and it's just being human. And I said, I don't understand sometimes some of the questions I get because it's not what we do. And, sometimes you just can't think when you're standing in it. You need out of the box. And I got a good friend of mine, he says, you don't get it. When people come to you, you're the government. They look at you, they don't see county, state, or federal. They say, I had an issue. I spoke to my representative, and that's it. Because sometimes people will bring stuff to us that not even close to what we do, but they don't know. And this person's going to have some of that as well, I fear, that they're going to say, hey, I don't agree with this. You're on that board to fix it. And it may be something they don't have that, it may be, that authority to do. So it's going to, oh boy. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised and a lot of people come out, but boy, it's a big ask.
it's a lot, and it's a lot to understand. I mean, we're not, as I said, we're not trying anyone or firing anyone. The Police Accountability Board, they have 4 key things of which they have to do, mostly administrative. But when you get to that charging committee, that's a tough nut. And now the trial board is all on the law enforcement chief. But the charging committee, like you said, I mean, that's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be controversial, and it's going to be,
And this was emotion driven.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. So, and I'm definitely not one to talk with keeping emotions in check. I mean, I wear a lot on my sleeve a lot of time. I really do. And you're going to have to be a cool cucumber. This is, it's.
So is there a process, so if somebody files a charge, they go through the entire process, they don't like the outcome, whether it's the citizen or the officer. So what is their next step? Court?
When the officer is offered the discipline by the chief local law enforcement officer, that must be what is the administrative charging committee's recommendation or higher. That officer can challenge that to a trial board. I don't know that there is a mechanism for a citizen because I'm not an expert on all of this yet, but I don't know that there is a mechanism for a citizen who's not satisfied that that administrative charging committee made a strong enough disciplinary requirement.
With the trial, the board could say no action needed.
Correct.
So the citizen would not be very happy. I just wasn't sure if there was some language in there that laid out the next step.
Well, that's where it draws a line between us. The trial board is by the law, is a law enforcement function. So that's on them. If the citizen doesn't like it, you know, the recourse is to the chief law enforcement officer. And there's an appeal mechanism, as council already put out, for the individual that's charged. The charging committee makes that recommendation based on what the matrix says, and it can't go below that type of thing. So that's pretty much set in concrete. But I think in general, because of an emotional charged year that we've gone through since the death of George Floyd and all the events after that, it's just, the whole thing is just going to be very, very tough to deal with till we get a mechanism in place and it gets running and people can see that it is fair, it is out front. The trial boards, which I was really surprised, has to be in public.
Well, and Commissioner Hanson has a great question, John. What will so someone has a complaint and the initial board feels it doesn't need to go any further. What is our role as commissioners? Because in the past, the phone calls come right here. So
you have no role once you've appointed those two boards.
And that needs to be very clear because we have seen it. Someone does not like a ruling from planning and zoning, public works, what have you. The next phone call is here. And so that needs to be very out in front that, what the authority of that board and what our role is.
Commissioner, you might liken it to, in some parallel, anyway, it's minute in that degree, to the Board of Appeals. I mean, we're at arm's length. They have their own responsibility and their own actions are unto themselves. So it's in that similar. Once the Police Accountability Board is appointed, it's the chair of that board. And then the process after that has an appeal mechanism as it moves through from administrative charging committee to a trial board, if it goes to a trial board, if that's a recommendation. And then if the individual's found not guilty, then that's the end of it. Or if it's a criminal violation, this is just talking about administrative. If it's a criminal violation, it goes over to the state attorney's office,
right,
into the regular judicial system. This is non-judicial stuff. So
and of course,
it's very complex.
This doesn't change the civil actions that are available to the private citizen who's not satisfied or was injured by the action.
So, doesn't give an immunity on that. I mean, that happens.
But does that give them recourse to come back on us in a civil action since we appointed the?
No, that does not. The concern is that the Local Government Tort Claims Act and the liabilities that come with an officer that's acting under color of law come out of your pocketbook. They come out of your budget directly or indirectly through the local government insurance trust where your trust rates go up or directly where it comes directly out of your budget. It does still affect the amount of money that's available for you to do other things. It's all connected.
It's going to be fun.
It's all connected. So with that, I will do our best to get this moving. We'll share with the county administrator's office the draft documents as they're prepared and start rolling out as promptly as we can.
Counselor, would you
Yes,
be comfortable with a motion or consensus?
Today? Consensus of the board's fine. Understand Commissioner Hutchins would like to try and get this done by July 31. We will certainly move in that direction as quickly as we possibly can.
I think, and to your credit, Commissioner Hutchins, and thank you on behalf of the citizens of Calvert County for all your efforts on this. Just potentially maybe concentrate on that chair first, as you alluded to.
I think we really need to get the public feedback on the
Correct.
draft ordinance.
Yes.
To learn
Yes.
what we don't know, because as I said in the draft letter, I don't know what I don't know. I never will know what I don't know.
Yes.
And got to be honest about that, an honest broker about that. So we need some public feedback.
Yep.
We need, and to get that, we need to give the people an opportunity to digest it. Now, will they have to be agile? Perhaps, because we may make some tweaks that go the opposite direction. The well-intended tweaks that we think are going in the right direction may go in the wrong direction. But it's going to be a process, that's for sure.
Brand new territory.
But once you publicize the draft, that'll create some interest for those citizens or retired officers that want to participate. You know, once the draft hits the street, that'll start that.
I think the chatter will come quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. But
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
So next item on the agenda is public comment. If we have anyone on the line.
We did have 3 people in 1021. I'm not sure if TS can tell us if there are more than 3 people now.
There is one potential caller.
Okay, caller, if you would like to speak during public comment, please press *9. You'll be identified by the last 4 digits of your phone number. Say whether you're speaking on behalf of yourself or as a designated representative of the group. Individuals will be given 3 minutes. Representatives of the group will be given 5 minutes.
There are no callers.
All right.
Scared them off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just teasing us,
Psych.
exactly. So, next item on the agenda is commissioner reports. Commissioner Hutchins.
Mr. President, can I go last today?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hart.
Well, this morning changed my commissioner comments. Commissioner Hutchins, this is to you. It's been an honor, sir. You've walked in a lot of different shoes and and it's going to be said a million times to public service. It's an honor. The time you've served in Vietnam, contributions on the state police, legislation here. I've learned a lot watching. Obviously could not learn in 2 years the wealth of knowledge that you have. I mean, with Annapolis and all, no one can dispute the effort you have put into this board. No one can dispute that. You have worked tirelessly. The first year that you became president and so on. I wish you nothing but the best. I truly do. Nothing but success and retirement and get everything you can out of it. Your family. I've met your daughter before. This is new for me. So this is something abrupt like this. But nothing but the best wishes. And thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it tremendously.
Commissioner McConkey.
Yeah, I can pretty much echo what he said, but I learned a lot from you. I met you before, when we were campaigning, and always looked up to you for your service to the country. You're a great commissioner. You brought so much experience, but you've been a great friend also, and I'm going to miss that. So I can't thank you enough for what you've done.
Thank you. I'll miss it too.
Yep.
Commissioner Weems.
Commissioner Hutchins, I wish you well, sir. You spoke, actually it was 2 weeks ago, you made a reference to placing your hand on the rock in the Holy Land, the Holy Sepulchre. And, I've been impressed by your Christian values, sir. You're the epitome to me of a Tidewater gentleman, and you'll be sorely missed, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I tried to, as far as values, I tried to uphold the best I could from the way I was raised, and Lord knows I made a bunch of mistakes. Good Lord knows that.
I tell everybody, you don't want to sit behind me when we're waiting to go in the pearly gates. They're going to go, Mike, why'd you think that was funny?
Why'd you do that?
Yeah, why'd you do that?
Commissioner Hutchins and I go way back, and it's been a good ride. And you know, you are the epitome of public service. Nobody can deny that. The things you've done for this country and this state and this county and region are undeniable. And we certainly have appreciated having you here. And just like all the rest of my fellow commissioners, we wish you all the best. And if there's anything you need, you know, we're here, at least until the next election. And,
I just wish they would have made you that quilt a couple years ago, because you've been so cold through some of the meetings.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Like, we got you soup. I mean, we got you hot soup.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't do bad for a couple farm boys.
No. Thank you for your service.
Thank you
Absolutely.
very much. If I may, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. The floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. By now, you've figured something's up here. If you were not part of the staff. So today, I want to take this opportunity to inform you that earlier this morning, I advised my colleagues and the county staff that I will resign my position of Commissioner of District 2 effective the 28th of this month. Having spent my early youth in the quietness of the crossroads of Barstow, I went on to serve many organizations in capacities both here and abroad. Thus, it was a particular honor to come back home to Calvert County and to serve you in my home district. It's also significant for me to end my tenure here in this courthouse. I walked into the Selective Service Office decades ago, greeted the registrar, Mrs. Jessie Jo Bowen, and stated, I'd like to go into the United States Army. To which she replied in her unmistakable voice, I think I can help you with that. Her help led me to a path of service that has lasted over a half century. Other challenges have arisen for me over the past several months, which I feel necessitate my resignation. In so doing, I wanted the people and citizens of District 2 to be provided with ample notice to alert them to this possibility should they be interested in serving the final 18 months of this term. On the effective date of my resignation, it will trigger the appropriate operation of law, which will lead to the appointment of a successor. I wish you all well. Thank you, God bless you, and goodbye.
Commissioner Hutchins.
Commissioner President, if I may.
Okay.
So one comment about serving with Commissioner Hutchins is I was still a director at the time, not in this current position. And as president, Commissioner Hutchins sat there and looked at the directors out here and in a very firm voice put a knife hand out and said, stand in the door. And I looked at directors and they were like, what the heck's going on? But I looked around and I mentioned to the commissioner that I understand that command, and it kind of gave me a kind of a prelude to what we were getting ready to do, and that is stand in the door, paratroopers getting ready to jump out, and you don't know what you're going to get into until you hit the ground. So thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate it tremendously. Thank you.
With that, the chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved, sir. Pursuant to General Provisions Article, subsection 3-305B1I, to discuss personnel matters of employees over whom it has jurisdiction, and subsection 3-305B8, to consult about pending or potential litigation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we go into executive session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Everyone, have a great day.